Hello, hello everyone. We are back with another episode of Koriko, A Magical Year, telling the story of Kestrel Larkspur in the city of Koriko. We are beginning today with 2 prompts. We'll be pulling from our little mini deck of cards. I'm trying a different layout today, so let me know what you think, if you prefer just seeing the writing or if you like having the PDF alongside it to follow along in the book. So yeah, let's get into it. We're going to pull our first card for the prompt of the day, and let's see what prompt we have for the first day. Shuffle these up a little bit. It's been a minute since I've shuffled these cards. All right. The first card we've pulled is the 5 of Wands. So let's see what prompt we have for this card. Take me a second just to navigate to where I need to be. Wands. Okay. So for the 5 of Wands, the prompt is, you hear that a group, usually amiable, has grown fractious. What gives it away that a mischievous creature is meddling with them, and how do you draw it out? What do you do with it once it's caught? So let's go ahead and transcribe that over here so we can see our prompt as we write. I don't want it to be bold. All right, and now the second part of picking out our prompt for this is to pick a twist. So as we discussed in the last episode, we have a total of 16 twists, and we've already used the twist Alone in a Crowd and A Late Night Flight for our previous 2 prompts. So the twists we have available today are Your First Test, which is risky, A Warm Welcome, A Rooftop Chase, which is another risky prompt, Morning Routine, A Rude Awakening, again risky, Prove Him Wrong, risky, Feeling Homesick, Renewed Ambition, A Naive Mistake, risky, Genuinely Scary, another risky one, Planting Seeds, Up to Your Knees, The Last Time You Saw It, or Set Off a Spark, which is another risky prompt. I think, for the purposes of today's game, we are going to choose a risky prompt. And I think what makes sense for this is to use Your First Test and to treat this like the first serious interaction that Kestrel has had with members of the city of Koriko that kind of puts her on the path of really being the city's witch and being the person to solve these supernatural problems. So our first twist of the day is Your First Test. Risky. Now what that means for a risky prompt, let me just go back and review these rules real quick because this is our first risky prompt. Twists. Okay. Whether your card draw results in a moment, meeting, hangout, or crossroad prompts, you'll now choose a twist. These are short phrases intended to inspire your answers to a card prompt. Your choice of twist can make a big difference in tone. Imagine meeting a new confidant with a twist of A Fragile Shell instead of Pressure to Party. Each volume has a twist grid with 16 unique twists presented on a 4x4 grid, which we are keeping track of off screen in my little paint app, and these will be updated in the Notion journal for people to read at a later time. Now, some twists are risky, which means you'll stack dice as part of resolving your prompt. Risky things are Your First Test, which we're going to be using, or Genuinely Scary. They're marked with the word risky on the grid. Now, dice stacking. this is the first time we're going to be stacking dice for this game, which I should have thought about and gathered my dice to begin with. But I didn't, because that would be silly. So let me just take a moment to gather up some dice in case we do 2 risky prompts today. And I will be keeping track of the dice that we stack in the Notion journal as well. Just a simple line saying how many dice we have stacked at one given time. You get to hear all of my dice box clattering around. Okay, so we have our dice picked out. When to stack dice. So you stack dice whenever you do something risky. And there are 2 ways that a risky move can be pulled. First is the twist. Second is in some of the prompts, there is always a risky option. When your witch does something risky, you'll always have 2 of the 4 skills, power, craft, care, and lore, to choose from. You're choosing the approach that your witch will take as they attempt to deal with the risk. This choice is shown on the page where you found your card prompt. Okay, so we'll have to go back to the card prompt to see what choice we're going to be using. And the lessons under each skill represent your witch's experience and practice. The more you have written under that skill, the fewer dice you need to stack. Our Kestrel only has 1 lesson written, and that lesson is under the care skill. So if we have to stack dice from the care talent or care skill, that will reduce the amount of dice that we have to deal. So if we have fewer than 3 lessons under a skill, we stack 3 dice. So we choose our skill, and that will determine how many dice we stack. Now, because this is the beginning of our Kestrel's journey, and she only has 1 lesson, which is a witch should above all else do good under the care skill, no matter what, we're going to be stacking 3 dice for this risk. But let's see what is under the prompt to determine what kind of risk we're dealing with. So, okay, I just didn't scroll down far enough. Okay, so for prompts from the wand category, we use either the craft or power skills. Now, our Kestrel does not have any lessons in either of those skills, but even if she did, we only have 1 lesson, so we're going to be stacking 3 dice for this risk. So, let's go ahead and mark off that we are using the Your First Test risk, and I'm going to stack 3 dice for now. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, our dice are stacked. We are ready to begin our prompt. Now, in this world that we've set up with Kestrel, the primary supernatural entities that interact with the world are glyphs. And so I think in this point, there's a glyph that is causing a fracture among this group of friends. So, let's begin with her discovering this group of friends that, for some reason, despite their usual amicable nature, have started infighting. Let's see, how do we begin? The morning begins not with a whisper, but a bang. Specifically, the cacophonous bang of arguing right outside my window. Talk about a wake-up call. I've never been a morning person, so as I pull myself from my comfy bed, or mat, rather, and go to investigate, I hear a bit more of the argument. Give it back! It's mine! finders keepers. The voices are young, and I recognize a few of them as the group of teenagers, not much younger than I am, who often run hither and yon through the streets, usually together, and the noises are usually more joyous than vicious. There's an edge to this argument that they're having. Something doesn't seem to add up. The boys often share things. Whatever they have must be valuable. Which, unfortunately, might mean they've come across it in less than ideal ways. Nothing doing. It's at least worth investigating, especially since it's right outside my window. There is a certain level of fun in startling the people of Koriko. Not out of malice or for any reason other than to try and ease their suspicions that I'm anything but a helpful witch. I do find it hard to resist pranks, though. And so few people drift this close to my cottage that I can bang my windows open and shout at the children outside. Why are you shouting outside my window? Do you know what time it is? Don't you have somewhere else to be? I try to put on my most crotchety, angry voice, pulling from my memories of Baba Jackdaw and the moments where I woke her early in the morning out of my eagerness to learn, only to hear the griping and complaining of an adult with too little coffee in her system for the jubilant and restless nature of a young witch. The boys, 5 of them together, standing at best as tall as my shoulders and at their smallest just above my knee, are wrestling in the street, which only comes to a halt when my shutters bang open and I shout at them. 5 heads all poke up from the tangled mess of limbs on the ground, peering at me with the wide-eyed stare of children caught with their hands in the cookie jar. Whatever they're fighting over, they're probably not supposed to have it. Well, I cross my arms and stare at them. Daggers, pinning them into place to try and get an answer out of one of them at least. The oldest boy, I think his name is Frederick, peels himself from the rubble on the ground and brushes himself off. You's not gonna curse us, is you? Not if you tell me what you're doing. I smile slyly, trying to assuage their concern. Curses aren't my forte, and even if they were, these are just kids. Kids are loud. I was loud. Still loud, sometimes. So I can forgive it. What are you fighting about this morning? Usually you lot are running up and down the streets, stealing candies from old ladies and tripping men in the road. Don't you have some kind of mischief to get up to? Frederick looks to his friends, and there's a brief look of confusion on his face, as if he doesn't remember why they're fighting, only that they were fighting over something. As his eyes lock onto something held in the hand of the younger, of one of the younger boys, the confusion fades, and there is a look of greed on his face. Sometimes, when you're around magic enough, you get a sense of foreboding. It's kind of like the hair standing up on the back of your neck when you're in the presence of something. A built-in warning system that, at least for witches, tends to show that we're on the right track of something that needs to be dealt with. I didn't notice at first, but watching Frederick's face change so quickly, from confusion to greed to anger, I realized that I've been tense this whole time. Not worried, per se, but ready for something. Whatever they have is not meant for them. What are you fighting over? I've lost my teasing tone of crotchety, my teasing tone of what is the word? I've lost my teasing tone to put them at ease, and now address them as an adult, or as close to an adult as I can, given our age differences. I can smell the magic around you, you know. There's something not right here. The boys all still at that. So it is magic. Or at least they think it is. Given the hairs on my neck, I'd wager they're right. The last time I felt this way, this tension and this preparation to leap into action, was in the temple by my home, trying to capture the Black Glyph. Surely they don't have anything as dangerous as that. But I can't help the needling feeling in the back of my mind that they have something akin to the Black Glyph. Go on then. Show me what you've got. Why should we? One of the younger boys pipes up. His bravery a little less effective given the quiver in his voice. I pull myself to my full height, hands on my hips, and fix him with what I call the Baba stare. I might be too young to pull it off, but I've seen that stare make many a man wither beneath Baba Jackdaw's instructions. Apparently, I'm better at it than I thought. Because all of the boys cringe and look away. If what you have is magic, you don't know how dangerous it could be, I say slowly. They are children, and children are curious, and sometimes curious children get into things they shouldn't. It's not their fault. Let me have a look, and if it's not dangerous, there's no harm in you having it, is there? But if it is dangerous, it's my job to take care of it. I'm your witch, aren't I? The boys look uneasy as they glance between each other. I'm not sure if it's that they don't trust me, which is fair, or if they feel uncomfortable with the idea that I'm their witch. Also fair. Moments pass as the boys have what feels like a silent conversation, dealt only in looks, gripes, and physical gestures. Finally, Frederick turns and glowers at me. I don't think it is magic, but I think it is important. And there's no harm in letting me see, is there? I smile at him, holding my hand out. He still seems hesitant, but that's okay. I don't need the boys to give me what they have. That's what Lavender's for. Quick as a lark, the little mink has slipped out of the window and darted into the gaggle of boys, wrestling, biting, and growling to get his way to whatever it is they have. While I've distracted the boys with my show of, well, my show of metal, my attempts at being a responsible and respectable adult, Lavender has done the dirty work. A bottle is dropped into the palm of my hand as Frederick watches, and his jaw drops. Oi! He barks out. That's cheating! You said we had to give it to you. But you stole it. Their accusations are background noise as I examine the bottle that Lavender has returned with. I frown deeply, swirling the bottle, staring at what's inside. Where did you find this? I asked. Serious, impatient. The boys all look between each other, guiltily. Where did you find this? I snap again, looking to Frederick. We was in the ruins, he admits, hesitantly. Sometimes after fall day, we find stuff that ain't burnt up, that we can use. Nothing bad ever happened, so we think it's okay. At least nothing bad's ever happened to us. The ruins. Of course they'd find something like this in the ruins. Stealing from the Fall Day celebration. Taking from the dead. The karmic justice these boys are building up for themselves is dangerous. But they're just kids. How do they know better if we don't teach them? With a deep sigh, I hold the bottle in my hand and come out of my cottage. Come here. I gesture at the boys to approach. And after a few moments of gesturing and trying to cajole them into moving, they do come to surround me. I hold the bottle in my hands for them to see and give it a swirl. The glyph inside is a burnt orange, like a smoldering fire. These glyphs can be volatile if not handled carefully, but as long as they're treated with respect, they tend to respect those who have them, who hold them. The swirling has agitated the glyph inside, but soon it settles. A small ball of cosmic energy that I can feel warm the air even outside of the bottle it's in. This is a glyph, I explain simply. You've seen them around the cities. You've seen them, haven't you? Around the cities before? In the ruins, sure, a younger boy pipes up. I think his name is Clark, but I can't remember off the top of my head. They float sometimes, especially after Fall Day, like little spirits. They floats around, and they eats the stuff that we leaves behind. How did you catch this one? I ask, crouching down to look at Clark eye to eye. Getting one of these in a bottle is very dangerous work. It followed the paper, Clark says. Shrugging helplessly. We put paper in the bottle, and it followed it. Right into wax. Then we corked it, and we brought it back. I nod, sighing, realizing that the ruins are going to be a project unto themselves. If glyphs are floating around freely, even if it's only after Fall Day, and the chasing after the emotional high of mourning humans, I'm going to have to address it. Go address it. For now, I have to deal with this glyph and the boys that look at it with greed and hunger in their eyes. You know what a glyph is? It's like spirit. Frederick says. A magic one that gives you stuff. Like luck or light or that's exactly it. Hang on. Bangin' one. I smile at the boy, giving him a wink. But some glyphs are troublesome, mischievous. They're very particular about who they belong to and why. I hold up the bottle. This little guy. See his color? This dark orange, we call them Burnt Gylphs. They don't take well to being captured. They live short lives, burn quickly, and burn themselves out. But we've got him in the bottle. He should be safe there, yeah? Clark pipes up. I shake my head. What if you were in a cage? I ask, gently. Would you be happy to stay there? To burn yourself out in the same place? I think you'd be pretty sad. Maybe even angry. I think you'd want out. I grasp the cork of the bottle, straightening myself up, and open it. The boys all back up, bracing themselves for righteous anger they expect this glyph to show at being captive. For a moment, glyph doesn't move. I tip the bottle gently, pouring it out into my hands. This burnt glyph is old. It likely would have burned itself out in the ruins if it hadn't been caught. Do any of you have a bit of paper? I ask, looking to the boys. They scrounge in their pockets before Frederick pulls out a little receipt. Scrap of paper. Thin and easy to burn. Well, go on. Feed him then. You kept him in that bottle this whole time. The least you can do is give him a snack. Hesitant fingers hold the paper out to the glyph, who stretches and reaches with thin tendrils of amber energy. The edges of the paper crisp and then light up as the glyph pulls it to them. The paper is devoured in my hands. It's warm, almost uncomfortable, but I've held worse. The boys watch entranced as the glyph devours the paper it's been given and seems to swell with energy. It floats upward, glowing from the inside, and does a lazy sort of twirl before sinking back into my hands. This burnt glyph is not long for this world. I cradle it gently, looking to the boys. Glyphs are dangerous, I say seriously, watching each of their faces. They're pretty, and they're powerful, but they don't belong in the hands of people. It's no different than trying to cage a wild animal. I give each of them a pointed book. This wild animal is wounded, and I'll take care of it. But I don't want to hear any more of you raiding the ruins. Is that clear? If I hear or see or smell so much as a whiff of glyphs on any of you, I'll be dragging you straight to the mayor. And then to your mums. Frederick grimaces at the threat of the mayor. The younger boys all flinch at the threat of their mums. After a moment, Frederick hesitantly steps forward. What are you gonna do with it? That's a good question. I look at the little glyph, who gives off the gentle burning light of a dying fire, and sigh. I'll keep watch on him until it's gone. Won't be long now. But can we give it more? Can we help it? Ah, loves. I smile sadly at that. Every life burns out. Even yours, even mine. Glyphs just burn a little brighter, a little hotter, and a little faster. This one's ready for its great sleep. We'll make it comfortable. Don't you worry. And it'll leave this world in peace. I turn then to return to my cottage, carrying the little bundle of energy in my palms. The boys follow, stopping at my doorway. Miss, Clark says gently, asks gently, if we find more like them, can we bring them to you? I would appreciate that very much. She turned back, smiling at the boys. But don't try to find them. They reveal themselves in time, and it's my job to find them. If you see or hear anything strange, come to me. I grin crookedly at that. Tell me what you see, and I'll go investigate. Alright? That's how you can help. It keeps the city safe, and it gives you lots something to look forward to. The boys seem to brighten at this idea, at having a task to focus on, their energy on. I smile and wave them away. Alright, go on. Off with you. And no more fighting under my windows. The boys scatter, and the noise that follows is of laughter and teasing, not of anger. I turn my attention to the Burnt Gylph. I can feel the pulse of greedy hunger that it gives. It's no wonder the boys fought over it. Burnt Gylphs are territorial things. Don't enjoy belonging to more than one person at a time. Let's get you settled somewhere, eh? Yeah? I head to my little storage spot, a few shelves, and pull out an old wooden box lined with paper and ash. Been a while since I've had a burnt glyph. I hope this is comfortable for you. You just go in here and rest. I gently deposit the glyph into the old wooden box and close the lid. The box gives off the radiant warmth of the glyph, but I know it won't be long before the box is cold again. At least it will pass in. With a sigh, I grab my shawl, drape it over my shoulders, and gather a few more empty glass bottles, tucking them into my pockets and my pack. Lavender curls up my arm and wraps himself around my neck. To the ruins then? To the ruins, I sigh. Who knows how many of these things there are? We better find them before someone else does. With a determined nod, I leave my cottage for the day and make my way to the edges of Koriko. There's only a small boat. Same one used by the Remembrals, who had burnt the offerings only a few days prior. The ruins sit beyond the expanse of the lake, jutting out of the water like fingers grasping to the sky. With any luck, I'll only find a few more burnt glyphs. But my hair has raised on the back of my neck again, and I can't shake the feeling that something deeper sits within the drowned ruins of the floating city. I think, let me see here. I think we're gonna end here for this entry. Yeah, I think we're gonna end here for this entry. So in this case, Kestrel's first test was to convince the boys to not hunt for these glyphs anymore, to warn them off of the dangers of the glyphs. And even though the burnt glyphs are not necessarily the most dangerous of glyphs, they still can be unwieldy and volatile. They can be the beginnings of a great wildfire if they're not careful, something to burn the city down. And so it's certainly important to Kestrel that she find these burnt glyphs and make sure that nothing and no one find these creatures by accident. But, as we've seen, Kestrel also can't shake the feeling that there is something within the ruins of Koriko that she has to address. Perhaps in the next entry, we'll see what that is. So, we will leave Kestrel's journey there for now, and I think we'll revisit it soon. But in this instance, I think it's safe to say that Kestrel does not venture too far into the ruins. She is unsettled and uncomfortable and just not ready to address the history of the city of Koriko. So, let's see what our next prompt is, shall we? Shuffle the deck again. We're down to 5 cards, and now for this first volume, we'll only draw 7. So we will be over the halfway point with the end of this entry. Let's see here. Let's pull this card. Let's see what we got. We have the Ace of Pentacles. So let's see what our prompt is for the Ace of Pentacles. Ooh, okay. This is always risky. Interesting. So, if it's always risky, I think we still pull a twist for this, but we don't need to pull a risky twist. And we will be stacking dice for this. Now for coins, we use the craft or care skill. We could use the care skill. And I guess we should say the skill used in our first prompt was, let me see what the options were again. It was wands, craft, or power. I think our first prompt used the power skill. Actually, let me review what the skills are real quick. Let's see. Skills. Okay, so power was correct. So power is bravery, sorcery, and persuasion. So she really used her power of persuasion here to try and persuade the boys to not go after these creatures themselves, but to bring them to her attention so that they can keep themselves and their city safe. So that was power. Now for this prompt, we can use craft or care. Craft is potions, tricks, and methods, and care is kindness, intuition, and healing. I think in this case, let me go back to where I was. Let's write the prompt out first. Always risky. Investors, not bold. No. Hold on. There we go. No. Investors, sorry about that, see an opportunity. Okay. So for this prompt, we have always risky. Investors see an opportunity in your practice. What benefits could their support provide? What do they ask for in exchange? They seem honest, but what gives you pause? Do you accept? Now for the twist. So, of the twists that are not risky, we have a warm welcome, which I don't think fits here. Morning routine could work, but I don't think it would add a lot to the prompt. Feeling homesick is another one that I think doesn't really add much to this prompt. Renewed ambition or planting seeds. And we have the last time you saw it. I think we're going to go with planting seeds in this one. Not necessarily seeds in the literal sense, but in the sense of planting ideas for the future. So, let's begin this entry and see where we end up. Investors see an opportunity in your practice. What benefits could their support provide? What do they offer in exchange? They seem honest, but what gives you pause, and do you accept? This is a curious one. This is one that I have to think about. The people of Koriko are traditionally very anxious around the use of magic in their city, and so I think anyone approaching Kestrel would need to be somebody that is not a member of the town in a normal sense, like an outcast or a black sheep, somebody who stands out from the people of Koriko because they're not afraid of magic. Investors see an opportunity in your practice. You know what? I think I know who this investor is. I think it's gonna be the mayor and the city council. Yeah, I think it's going to be the mayor and the city council offering support to Kestrel in exchange for power. It seems simple, but I think that's what makes the most sense. Now, how do I want to do this entry? That's the real question. I think I'm going to treat it as... I think I'm going to treat this entry as a journal entry in the aftermath of what has occurred. So, let's begin. Let's begin simply. The Council of Koriko has approached me with an offer. I'm not sure what to make of it. I just realized that my music stopped playing. Hold on, let me get the music going again. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I just realized the music wasn't playing. I was so sucked into the last prompt that I didn't realize that it had ended. Okay. So, the Council of Koriko has approached me with an offer. I'm not sure what to make of it, though. I don't think they understand what exactly I'm here to do. It could be that it's been so long since they've had a witch in the city that they forget our core responsibilities are not to investors in our practice, but to the people of the city. Their proposal is dangerous. Let me start from the beginning. After my visit to the ruins, I discovered that there is a wealth of glyphs just floating around the space. A good deal of burnt glyphs, like I thought. living out their short lives, burning on the energy of the mourners of the fall day. But there were other glyphs too. A rainbow of colors I haven't seen gathered in one place before. They're feeding off of a power in the ruined city that I could sense even from the dock. It seems like the ruined city has become infested with glyphs, feeding on the remnants of Tilvy's spell. Which, on its own, is amazing. This is not behavior I've ever seen of a glyph. They tend to appear where there are strong energies to absorb, sure, but usually only a handful of types intermingle. I've never seen this many glyphs, types of glyphs, coexisting in relative harmony. On the surface of the ruined city, I saw burnt glyphs, glyphs of pink and blue and teals, the bright firefly glyphs that burn white like stars. They all coalesce together in this rainbow of existence. That's how you spell that. They were all docile. They hardly reacted to my presence at all. I still felt unsettled in this ruined city, as though something larger were watching me. But the glyphs seemed unbothered by my presence. No wonder the boys were able to so easily capture the burnt glyph that they brought to me. If I tried, I bet I could have persuaded any number of them into the glass vials I brought with me. They were fat and lazy, well fed. That's what I explained to the mayor when I went to report to him what I had found in the ruined city. Maybe I underplayed the true danger of glyphs, because their proposal is insane. They want to use the glyphs to capture and commoditize them, to make them into something to be traded and bartered like a currency. They're living creatures. The council does not understand the nature of glyphs, and that is my problem. It is my responsibility to ensure that people understand the danger of glyphs, of approaching what amounts to a wild animal and expecting it not to attack you. But I worry about how to instill this healthy fear of glyphs in these people without isolating them further from magic. In exchange for my services, capturing the glyphs for the council, they've offered me an opportunity to study them, to determine if the glyphs can be utilized safely by mundane means. I won't lie, the opportunity is attractive. If glyphs can be tamed, the sources of power they offer could be life-changing. This is not the kind of work witches do outside of the Citadel. I've heard that they study the glyphs in the Citadel, but never with the idea of putting them into mundane hands. If glyphs can be tamed, if their powers can be utilized and harvested for the benefit of people in a safe way, do I owe it to the city of Koriko to try? I sit on the edge of something that has ramifications far beyond my understanding. Research into the glyphs, into taming them, into harnessing their power. It's not been done before on this scale. The ruined city is unique in that it provides an opportunity to explore many types of glyphs and their abilities. Is keeping it to myself selfish? Is sharing it with the world dangerous? The council has requested my answer in a week's time, but the options they gave me leave little choice in my hands. If I refuse, I worry that the rift in trust between myself and the council will reverberate in the city. They don't understand magic, but they do understand power. This is a source of power for Koriko. If I don't help them, they'll find someone who will. Someone who might not have the same care that I was taught for the glyphs. I don't think I have a choice. I'll speak with the mayor tomorrow. Maybe if I can convince him to let me do the studying first, to wait until we know the true limits and extensive power the glyphs can provide, then maybe I'll have time to see if this is truly something good for the city and for the glyphs, or if it's too dangerous and needs to be headed off. My research into the glyphs has to begin tonight. I'll begin by examining everything I know about the glyphs, their nature, their types, and use that as a jumping point for my research. Then, at least, I'll have some reference for guidance. I can't help but feel that I'll be doing this research blind for a good majority of it. I can only hope that what I do what I learn is for the better of this world, not the worse. Okay, this is a shorter entry, but I think this is where we're going to end this one, because I wanted this entry to be a quick snapshot of the conversation Kestrel had, and more focus on the way she feels about this research endeavor, about this opportunity to take the glyphs and turn them into something that can be utilized by mundane hands. The opportunities are both good and bad. There is an opportunity here for glyphs to fundamentally change the world if they can be harnessed in a way that is safe, but whether they can be harnessed safely is the ultimate question. And that is something that Kestrel has to grapple with for the safety of the city of Koriko. We'll have to see what we learn from Kestrel about the glyphs. And I think, in addition to the journal entries, which will continue to be recorded as part of the series, I may do some work behind the scenes on Kestrel's research notes, which can be read in the Notion journal entries. I think having these research notes will be helpful in understanding how the glyphs impact the world and whether their powers can be utilized in a safe way. I also think I kind of want to build up a bit more of world history in terms of what research Kestrel has done into Tylvi and the flying city of Koriko. Because I think ultimately, all of these things are connected. But Kestrel is only just beginning to pull the threads to understand how the ruined city attracts glyphs the way it does, how Tylvi's power helped the city to fly in the first place, and what all of this has to do with the new city of Koriko on the lake, and the council's ambitions for what to build Koriko into. There's a lot at play here, and I think Kestrel is only beginning to scratch the surface of where she falls into this story and this world and this city's ambitions. So I think we're going to end it here for this episode, and we will visit Kestrel in the next 2 prompts for the Arrival volume. And we'll be finishing this volume up soon and moving into the spring volume. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm having a really fun time writing this story together and piecing together what is happening in between these entries. And I hope you join me next time for the next 2 prompt entries. Let me know if you like this format, if you prefer just having the words on the page, or if you prefer having the PDF alongside it to reference along with me. These entries will be in the Notion, which is linked in the description below. And I think going forward, I will also be posting these videos to Twitch as pre-recorded episodes. I'm not super sure about that yet, so don't quote me on that. I might decide just to stick with YouTube. So we will hopefully get this episode up sometime today, and I will hopefully be able to get these episodes back on a weekly schedule like I had planned so that we can finish up Kestrel's story. I will also be soon doing a new series based on an upcoming solo TTRPG. So more details will come on that as soon as I have that in my hands and I can start planning. Thank you guys for joining me. I'm so glad to be able to tell this story with you, and I'll see you next time. Bye!